I never plot things out that well. I follow my whims, and so there was no sort of like, method to my decision-making process and thinking, oh, I am going to now follow up a Robert Redford crime comedy with an Arthurian legend. But the thing that I saw in this poem, beyond the opportunity to make what is essentially a fantasy film, which is a genre I love, was the opportunity to make a film about the pursuit of one's integrity. I saw in this 14th century poem an opportunity to tell a story about an individual taking baby steps towards realizing that integrity is more important than legacy. And that's something that I always try to remind myself, when I'm making movies, when I'm getting caught up in the Sturm und Drang of filmmaking. Ultimately, the finished products, as much as I care about them, they don't matter that much. The goal for me was to make Gawain to allow Gawain to make the right choice, to get him as a character to a point where he could make the right choice, even if it came at the cost of his own life. I hope so. I mean, I certainly was writing it with a modern context in mind and trying to make the themes that were so relevant in the 14th century equally relevant to a modern audience. What I do think are timeless themes, and not interpret them, but recontextualize them in a way that would make them relevant for audiences today. Because I do think honor and integrity are things that are worthy of consideration in any time period, but especially right now. Like I think in any eon of history, these things are, across mankind. These are things that have always mattered, but I can think of all sorts of reasons why they matter, especially in this at this moment in time. It definitely was a more binary version of the character than is in the original text. We wanted him to start as a ne'er-do-well and rise to the occasion of his quest, and arrive at the end of the film worthy of the knighthood that the legend that we know from legend, but whether or not he achieves it or not, left to the viewer. But regardless, he gets to that point. He becomes the Sir Gawain of legend by the end of the film. And that's a trajectory that just would make sense to audiences. You would just ask, why would you ever go on this journey? If it means you're going to die, why would you engage with the knight in the first place? But if Gawain is coming from a place of disadvantage, if he has to prove himself, suddenly it just clicks in a much more profound way on a narrative level. It's become very moving. Like the poem, when I first read it in college, my memory of it is reading like a rip-roaring adventure. These are things that really resonate with me now when I read them, and they resonate with me with the beauty of them resonates with me. And these are the things that make the poem so evergreen. It is a text to which you can return, and that, like you said, you will find new things every time you read it. And my hope is that audiences who are not familiar with it will use this movie as a gateway into a text that has endured for 700 years for a very good reason.